Welcome along to the Spearo Diaries podcast with Laura and Elise, two mermaids chatting about spearfishing and ocean adventures. This is the start of our spring season.
We recently had an epic time meeting some other Kiwi local Spearos at the New Zealand Boatfish Dive Expo. Thanks heaps to those who visit us at our stall and to the organisers for creating such an epic event. And a big shout out to our sponsors Widdy and Shark Bands for their support, as well as all the other awesome brands who gave us prizes for you guys.
In this episode, we hear from the ultimate slay money Fishy queen. She is a world-class competitor, record holder, child prodigy, children's book author, and current number 2 in the world. She's an absolute weapon of a human and an enthusiastic, fun-loving soul, Alex Edwards.
This is the first of 2 episodes covering her journey into becoming a Spearo, and we were lucky enough to have spent a number of hours unpacking some of her many epic adventures. So settle in, get those ear holes ready for a fishy and informative yarn.
Here, fishy, here, fishy. Here, fishy, here, fishy, fishing off the pier.
Tonight, here at the Spearo Diaries headquarters, we have the lovely and stunning children's book author, humble, lifelong Spearo weapon herself, Alex Edwards.
Welcome, Alex. We hope you are excited for tonight. We've got some good questions for you. We had the pleasure of meeting Alex. I had the pleasure of meeting Alex a couple of years ago at the Ruakaka Nationals, and then me and Laura together met her. She was the manager for the New Zealand team at the Interpack, so she, for the first little bit, just in place of Craig while he was sick, and she did an absolutely awesome job. So welcome along, Alex.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really good to have you here. So just jumping straight into it tonight, is there a specific memory in the ocean that has impacted your spearing journey or just life in general?
It's a deep question, but I think I'd almost just be inclined to say all of them, because spearfishing has always been a huge part of my life, and it has sort of dictated a lot of things in my life.
That's pretty cool though, because we know obviously we've quite recently spent a few days in summer on your parents' yacht. You weren't there, I actually hadn't met you yet, and I heard a lot about you from your parents, and they honestly just couldn't rave about you more. I feel creepy knowing so much about you. But that makes sense that you've grown up spearfishing from such a young age that pretty much all of your probably family and spearfishing memories are just intertwined with growing up.
Yeah,
right.
Intertwined with who I am, I suppose. My getting into spearfishing journey is probably a lot different to everyone else's. It's in the blood. Mum and Dad met at like a spearfishing club meeting in Western Australia, and so they're both good divers respectively, both used to compete, and then that's sort of how I got into it, is through them getting to share their love for the sport. But I didn't actually start spearfishing until I was about 12, but that was spearfishing. I mean, when I was real little, I think Mum used to tie us to a float line, and we'd be in life jackets and she'd just tow us around while Dad was off doing his own thing, actually spearfishing. Mum got the pleasure of looking after us three.
Training you to be weapons that you are.
Yeah.
Yep.
From the ripe old age of probably like 5 or 6, I think we were. Yeah.
I did a bit of geeky research about you online actually, and I think it did say somewhere that your spearfishing journey technically began at 5 years old, attached to your mum's float line, but were you saying about 12 was when you quite seriously began like more becoming a spearfisher yourself?
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I think I should say the very first time, actually, I think my first mask and snorkel, and I'm outing myself a little bit here, was I would have been maybe 4, and I was in Western Australia. Mum spent ages trying to find a mask and snorkel that was going to fit a young child's face, and I was all excited about it, like all excited, first mask and snorkel. We're going down to the beach, And there was like, you know how water gets trapped in the beach? It's just like a puddle. I think I made it that far. I put my face in the water. It was probably like shin deep. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. And Mum's like, do you want to go to the ocean? I was like, no, why would I want to go to the ocean? It's like, my face is in the water. Oh my God, this is awesome. And
That's so
yeah,
cool.
so she like put all this effort into finding a mask and snorkel, and I made it about as far as a puddle. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, but you still captured the stoke right from that little age, which is so cool. And your parents are like still spearing to this day, like Craig and Jennifer, like your mum is the president of Spearfishing New Zealand. Your dad is an epic Spearo. Me and Laura got the pleasure of jumping on their boat at the start of the year, and yeah, they could not stop raving about you. I know they're super proud of you and super proud of all of your siblings. But yeah, like, it's pretty cool. They've had a really adventurous life. I'm pretty sure I heard your dad say at one stage that, your mum's still there because he promised to take her on adventures for the rest of her life, and it seems to be working out, which is pretty adorable. Would you say that your dad's your biggest mentor?
I'd say both. I mean, growing up, I generally did most of my diving with Dad. Like, he taught me everything he knew, and he dedicated a lot of time to teaching me to dive, even when he didn't want to. You know, when you're 12 and you're excited and you're like, every weekend, it's like, it's the weekend, Dad, are we going diving? And that was when, probably before I really started understanding weather and winter. And he's like, well, no, it's windy and it's swelly. And I'm like, yeah, but can we not just like go diving? He's like, no.
Awesome.
He put a lot of time into me and into my spearfishing growing up. And I would say he's definitely my biggest mentor in the sport. Obviously Mum as well, because she was almost somewhat of like a pioneer into women's spearfishing. She was, I think, one of the first, started competing, like one of the first sort of females to start competing in the Inter-Pacifics, along with obviously a few other ladies at the time. And which was pretty cool when I made the team for the first time, knowing that it's like, years ago Mum won this trophy as well. So that was really cool. It's like being on the same team as she was years later.
That is so special.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome family legacy. Like, I really liked hearing her talk about how she got into spearfishing in Aussie and how she was one of the only women who did it there and all that kind of stuff, and like why she was so passionate about like teaching her daughters to spearfish, and just how pumped she is about like us men at least getting into spearfishing as well, just because she's all about the girls as well. And like, yeah, I just think that's really awesome that she's like that. Yeah,
I keep talking in past tense, but she still actually does go diving occasionally just to prove that she can still shoot a fish. I'll get a text message when I'm at uni or something, and she'll be like, it'll be a photo of a snapper, and she'll be like, went diving, shot this fish just to show you guys that I've still got it. I'm like, nice work, Mum. But yeah, she's shot some pretty cool fish in her time as well. So obviously growing up, I was like, I'm going to try and beat these, but I mean, she shot a 30-pound snapper, so I don't know when I'll ever get to beat that one. She likes to remind me about it all the time too.
With your dad being a mentor to you, because it sounds like they're both awesome different mentors for different reasons as well. I did have the pleasure of having some tips given to me from your dad, and I found him like quite a calm, observant kind of coach. Was he always like that growing up? Or has he more become like that, do you think, in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm not sure. He is very patient. Even when like you're little and you miss like the same fish like 6 times, he's still patient. But no, I think he just loves, because he's seen it all. He's done a lot of diving in his time, and now he gets just as much enjoyment out of teaching other people and like sharing his love and sharing what he's learned over the years for newcomers. Because I think I'm pretty similar in that regard. It's like you almost get just as much stoke out of like teaching somebody else something new, and then they get a fish because of it, and then you get to share in that stoke. So I think that's what sort of drove it, because, I suppose, after he had us, I think he stopped diving for a little bit. Obviously it's hard when you've got young kids, and then when I was older, finally old enough to start diving, it was like, oh yeah, cool, he gets to go start diving again, but obviously for the family, not for his own,
Yeah, you could tell from, not to keep going back to the boat, but just that's the experience that we've had of experience. I guess what your parents would be like as mentors. It was really awesome to just sort of be around people that were, they were quite keen on us having the experience, but they didn't want us going and taking too many fish. It was like they were telling us to be selective, and we brought it back on the boat and ate it together. And your dad gave us some tips that were like what me and Elise were discussing earlier, just even some really simple stuff about, closing your eyes when you're down there, just to kind of calm and make your body limp. And it's like one little thing that he told both of us has like impacted the last few months of us diving. And we're just talking before off air about how that's just something that's really stuck with us. So just thinking, it'd be pretty cool to have grown up having both of them, teaching their tips and tricks. So not that you haven't paved your own way and totally earned all of the things that we're about to delve into, but they're great people, and we're very glad that we got to spend that time with them and learn a little bit about you, and now become closer with you as well. So I guess competitions, it's anyone who knows the name in spearfishing around the world, to be honest, because you have been on the world spearfishing stage very recently in 2023, but I think anyone who knows your name through spearfishing does pair it up with competitions, because a lot of your spearfishing, career in the sport has been linked to just honestly such domination from such a young age. And I know you're humble, but just honestly such domination. Like researching you again today, it's like you just like cleaned up in so many areas from when you started out. So getting into competitions, there's my little ramble. How did you get into that competing side? Like how old were you and why did you start competing?
I'd actually only been spearfishing for, probably a couple months, and then the Nationals came up, and it was where my hometown in the Bay of Islands. So it was there, and Dad's like, like the Nationals is on, like, do you want to just enter? And it would just be like a fun day out diving. And so that was my first competition, diving in the juniors with him, and first competition.
How old were you for your first competition?
12.
12.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how'd you go?
I think that one, it's actually quite a long time ago now, but I think that one I came, I think I won the junior women's.
Yep, I've got here that you won the New Zealand women's section, the New Zealand junior women's section when you were 12.
Yep, yeah.
And then at 13 years, correct me if I'm wrong, you won the New Zealand under 16 mixed and the junior women's, and even I think the photography competition, which used to run then.
Yeah. The photography one was fun, actually. I really enjoyed that one. That one was cool.
What did you have to do for the photography competition?
It's similar to the spearfishing, but your list is a lot broader. Like you have pretty much every marine species apart from like triple fin. So you'll have like fish that we wouldn't normally, that we don't target as spearfishers on there, and you've got, I think you have like 24 photos, and you've got to try and get as many species in those photos as you can. Yeah, so it's a different kind of hunting, but it's quite challenging, because you sort of got to be like, all right, I could get, if I set a kinnaburley, I can try and get like 5 species in this shot, and then I've got, so it's different kind of strategy. So I
think Darren might have actually told us about that in his interview about the old photo competitions that were back in the day. So
yeah, well, they still actually run them in the Nationals, alongside the Nationals. I think maybe the last few years they maybe haven't been quite as popular, just because of, I suppose it's on a weekday, so it doesn't attract as many people. But yeah, they're always pretty fun, those ones.
And in the same year, when you were 13, I think I've got here that you then made the New Zealand women's official team for the first time.
No, so I was 14. So that was the Nationals in Ruakaka, I think, in 2016.
It's the problem with you doing so well for so many years. It's hard to keep a timeline of when you did what.
Yeah, so I was 14, I think, and I'd already really cemented a love for competition spearfishing when I was 12, and obviously making a team like that, I always thought it was quite far away in the future, and then ended up doing well in the nationals for it. So I made the team as a reserve, and I was like, this is awesome. This is a dream come true. I'm about to dive with some absolute weapon divers. I was like, this is so exciting as a 14-year-old. And then so I was just supposed to be reserve. I wasn't meant to be diving, but then Poppy ended up getting, so the team was Rochelle and Poppy, and she ended up getting a ear infection, I think, on one of the days, or she was having issues with her ears, so she dove one day, I dove the other, so I actually got a taste of what it was like to dive in that next sort of, that's obviously a big step up, and I was like, this is cool, and from then on I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Recently, you've also been to the Worlds, and you came second, and that is I'm pretty sure everyone in New Zealand was pretty proud of you. Do you want to talk about that at all? So the Worlds were in Spain. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so last year, obviously, they were in Spain. That's about all I have to say.
Good New Zealand story, eh? Good New Zealand story. So for starters, what did you have to do to be able to get into the team for the Worlds?
So I suppose the selection trials for making the team to go to the Worlds was based on the 2 preceding nationals. Mm-hmm. So it went off your results from diving in the women's competition, or I suppose just diving in the nationals, and those results sort of combined to determine whether or not you get to go. Made the team, and it was I was almost at the time a little bit unsure if I wanted, I knew I wanted to go, but obviously a lot of people would have been through it as I don't really know if I have what it takes, but everyone's well, just it's what you're doing is cool, so just give it a go, sort of thing. And especially I
guess people don't know this. You were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the first New Zealand woman to go to any world champs for spearfishing, is that correct?
Yeah, so I think that was what kind of made it that little bit more special, is that this is only the third competition, the third world, where they've had a women's division. It's prior to that. Prior to that it was men's, and so I think the first one was in Portugal, and then the second one was in Italy, which we unfortunately couldn't go to because of COVID, and so this was the first one that sort of was an option, and it was you're in the team, are you going to go? And at the time I was really nervous. I was I'm not really quite sure if I have what it takes. The world stage, it's a big deal. Even though you sort of it's something you dream of when you first get into it. It's start competing. The world stage is the peak in our sport, and it's obviously I've always dreamt of getting there. So being the first female to represent the country, but then also just representing your country alone was really awesome. So it was really
honestly that's pretty amazing, even understanding now that that's the third one that they've had, but just regardless of where you got and how you did, I just think that's honestly so incredible that you were the first New Zealand woman. No one can take that away from you.
Yeah, I think...
You said that to us before.
Yeah, So like I said, like, I was really nervous. Had pretty bad comp anxiety, and I was like, as you do, like, it's like a pretty big deal. And so I think I got the advice, I'm not quite sure who it was from, and they're like, well, like, no one's ever going to take that part away from you. So just being there is an accomplishment, and then whatever you do after that is just an extra. It's just an extra sort of thing. So I went over there with the goal. I was like, I just want to make top 10. Like, this is my first Worlds. This is all new to me. Like, it's the other side of the world. I don't know the terrain. I don't know the fish. Like, I don't even know the competition. The competition is completely new to me. So I was like, just being there is...
So just give the listeners and even just myself a little bit some context of the different types of competitions. Obviously in New Zealand, the nationals have women dive by themselves with a sweever, or in pairs with women or other men, and then Inter-Pacifics are pairs from a team combination. But this competition is different, right, for the Worlds? Yeah,
so the Worlds is very different to our competition. So they are completely solo. You're in the water by yourself, competing by yourself, no safety diver or anything, and it's a boat comp. And so our competitions in New Zealand, or I suppose in the Pacific, are generally all swim comps, which means we jump in the water at a certain point and we swim to where we've got to go. And that's normally, like, it's a different kind of... like skill or knowledge that you have to think about is like, okay, this is a new area. I might not know it, but I know where there's a point, and I know I'll figure out what the tides are doing, and it's like, from that you can sort of work out where the fish might be, and then you've got to be able to swim to those fish. So there's a whole heap of very different elements that go into our competitions, whereas in the Worlds it's a boat competition, and so everyone still starts in the same place, but you're in a boat and you're in that boat the whole day. So it's really based upon how well you do at scouting, and then obviously your ability to then get those fish on the day, because you can go to a spot, it's like, oh, there's either the fish there, it's not, you get back on the boat, you go to the next spot, and it's like that all day, which is pretty tricky because it means on the comp day you've got all these boats buzzing over you, so you've got the element of you trying to find a fish, but that scare factor for the fish of motor, the sounds of engines. Yeah.
How much time did you spend before the actual competition scouting?
I think I was there for about maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer. Okay. I can't remember exactly. I would have liked to have been there for longer, but I was studying at the time, so I couldn't really take off a couple months from university. I don't think that would work out for me in my favour. So I was there for about 2 weeks, and basically that 2 weeks lead up was just looking for fish, and I was lucky enough to, I suppose, the team that we went over with was myself, Dwayne Herbert, Chris Marshall and Rowan Verbicus, and so it was the four of us, but they got there beforehand and they'd already sort of figured out that a starting point per se, and they were nice enough to share that knowledge with me, so I wasn't really going in blindly into the scouting, which meant I had a few points to sort of work off of where you might want to start looking for fish. And so the 2 weeks beforehand was just spent looking for fish in the different areas, and these areas are huge. I think the small one was 14 kilometers long, but you put 100 boats in that, you really are not going to be having much space. And because you've got 100 of the world's best divers, if you found a fish, the likelihood of them finding a fish, so it means that, or a fishy area, the boats and the divers actually get really congested. So that was probably I think almost my biggest challenge leading up to it was that mental game of I'm finding these fish, but like that means that somebody else has probably also found these fish, and that means like I've found these fish, but the likelihood of me getting it is probably really low because of the boat noise, because of like so many factors. Like for example, when I got to my first spot on the first day, it was pretty evident that a few other divers had also found the fish that I was clearly going for, because jump in the water, and one of the Italian ladies, she jumped in the water too, and I think I've told this story before, but it was like kind of a oh wow, this is really happening, like is this going to be what it's like all day? So we both must have found the same fish when we were scouting, and we both raced exactly to this point, got in the water, dove down. Luckily the fish happened to be in my side of the cave, and so I was the one that got it. And it's like you kind of feel like a bit of a dick, like it's like you almost feel like you're snaking a fish, but it's like, oh, it was my fish too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that definitely, I was a bit worried at the start of that part, but I'll get into that in a bit, about being like, oh no, is this what it's going to be like all day? But yeah, it just showed how important those days leading up to the competition were, because if you don't have the fish like in your mind, or like the ideas of where you want to go, you'd be pretty lost for ideas when it comes to actual comp days. So yeah.
So the actual like first day of the comp, you've got a fish species list. Is that any different to the regular ones that we have here?
Yeah, so their lists are actually really different to ours as well. Our lists, we get 100 points per fish, and 10 points per kilo, which is maxed out at 8 kilos. So the most you can get for a fish is 180 points, whereas over there they had different categories of fish, and like each fish was a different weight class, and then some fish were worth more than others, say for like conger eels compared to like a sargo, and then you would get 1 point per gram. And so it really came down to getting lots of fish, but then also getting big fish.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then you'd also get more points for, I can't exactly remember how many points it was, but you'd get more points if you shot more species. So it's like, okay, you want to try and like get a big diverse range, but then at the same time you would also get more like additional points if you filled up like a species list. So like for one category you could get 5 of each species, and then if you were to get all 5 you'd get bonus points. And so it was a real like kind of mind game. Is like, oh, do I want to try and fill all of them and just focus on this fish and try and get those bonus points, or do I want to like chase different species, or target different species and get like the bonus points per new species? So it was
quite a complicated,
complicated,
and a number of different things that could come out of your day, of things you can't really control either. Yeah,
and then what made it challenging was that every fish you shot had to be weighed in. So even if you shoot a fish that's going to be too small, you had to weigh it in.
Oh no.
So you couldn't upsize, like you can't shoot something, fill a weight class and upsize, because if you do that then you lose 2 fish, sort of thing. So
they had penalties technically as well?
There's penalties as well, yeah. So if you shot a fish that was, can't remember how many % under the weight it was, you'd then get a penalty for shooting that, but you can't just discard the fish because it's against the rules. But we found out after the fact that I think competitors were doing that anyway, but that's all right.
So you've got to learn all these different fish in the week or two before you compete. Fish you don't recognise, kind of memorise this list somewhat as to which ones that you need to get, and all these different combinations of possibilities, and all the spots where you've seen fish.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was too, like, the fish would act differently per different conditions. So it's like, from day to day, you could have, like, if it's swelly, the fish will be in one place, and if it's calm, they're not going to be there, they're going to be somewhere else. So you've got to figure that out too. And then same thing, like if it's clear, like the fish can see you, whereas if it's dirty, like you've got way better chances of them not seeing you, and so way better chance of getting the fish.
What kind of diving was it? Like, is it deep? Is it shallow? Is there lots of weed? Like, what's the ethos of the area?
So the depth ranges are actually not too different to what we dive in New Zealand. Like, it's still the same. Like, you can shoot fish in a metre, which is kind of like the opposite to snapper snooping, where you'll dive down really far away from the rock. You'll dive to the bottom and you'll snoop along the bottom, coming back, like, say, back to the coast and looking up, and the fish will be like up in the whitewater.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like opposite to snapper snooping. And those were fish like sargo, which are kind of like a bream type thing.
Okay.
But then you'll also get fish out deeper, like on bommies, I suppose. But when I say deeper, like some world champs, obviously people will think like, oh, it's really deep, like the Mediterranean, when you won't shoot a fish in less than 40 metres, whereas this was, like, I think the deepest, like, I think I did a few dives over 30, but there wasn't really much out there, and so it was really shallower than that, but you really had to use a lot more technique with your hunting abilities as opposed to your freediving abilities for this one.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a lot for you to be considering, especially sort of on your own, basically, in a new terrain, but it sounds really exciting as well. From what we understand, that the European competitors that you were against, who are all kind of, I guess, in an area that they are pretty familiar with and fish they're familiar with, they weren't really expecting anything from New Zealanders. They didn't know who you were. Is that
Yeah, so obviously it was my first competition, and no one from New Zealand had ever been before. It's normally at the Worlds, I think it is just those European divers, and so it's like, it's diving that they're used to, or it might be diving that they've dived in before, because it's obviously a lot closer. So we were lacking that home advantage, and we were lacking that support from others. Like, we were just the four of us, and we didn't have anyone to help scout. Oh, we did. Mel and Jules came over sort of right before the competition, but yeah, that lead up, it was just what we figured out sort of thing, whereas you'd see other teams that were closer, like the Spanish team. I think every diver had like a boat full of people. They had their boatmen, and then they had like another, like 1, 2, maybe 3 people, and this was the same as the Italian teams as well, people scouting for them, helping them find fish. And so you'd see these teams, and it was insanely intimidating, because it's like, oh, well, that's what you're up against. It's like, I don't even have a chance. So yeah, leading in,
little did they know.
I think like leading into it, I was so nervous. I was like, well, if I make top 10, I'm going to be stoked, and I'm going to go home happy, sort of thing. Because I was like, you'd see all these divers around, and you're like it was intimidating. Like, I was like, you're kind of like looking at them, like kind of like if like you'd see people like previous world champion sort of thing, and I suppose it's like a rugby player like walking past an All Black, not the same spec but similar. You're like, oh, they are very talented, and you're in this, like, to think like, oh, you're in the same competition competing against them, you're like, that sort of makes it sink in a lot more. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Can you lay out a bit of the scene of what the first day looked like? You get on the boats and you're all ready to go. What's around you? What's it looking like? How does it all start?
was insanely nervous.
Yeah.
Shaking. So it was hectic. So like all the boats are moored or in the marina, I suppose, and like they all have their little country dock, like docking areas, and so everyone's like there on the wharf getting ready, and it's like tension is high because obviously like you're at the world champs.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it's a big deal. Like I think it's always running behind too. So we got there a little bit early, and we were like one of the first people there, and it's because everybody else they like to run fashionably late. Everything gets pretty delayed. But yeah, so
Crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't just count without them.
It doesn't just So everyone's getting ready there at the marina, and you all head out, which is hectic because it's 100 boats heading out of this marina, and we all meet out there. It's like you're getting a suit on, getting ready. You all race out to the starting zone, and you're like looking around. You're like 100 boats there's a lot of boats. Like it looks like
so much like white water and chalk.
You're going out there, and it's like so. The first day it was actually flat calm. Like both the days were flat calm, no wind, no swell, which I was actually really nervous about because when we were scouting it wasn't flat calm and there was swell. So I was like, I'd sort of scouted the fish for swell, and I was like, are they still going to be there? So I was like kind of freaking out. I was like, is my plan even going to go to plan today? And so we all get race out there. What I was saying is you're racing out there, but it was so calm. Like the day was so calm, but there's so many wakes in the water that you'd think there was like a big swell and that it was windy. It was very hectic. Yeah.
Okay, so you're heading out, you've got this plan. What kind of proceeds from there? Like, what was your first fish that got you on the board?
So the first fish was the fish I mentioned earlier, and it was a scorpion fish. And so our limit was 500 grams. The women's limit was 500 grams. Lower limit for this particular category, and then the next category up was I think 700. But I'd shot the scorpion fish.
This is the you and the lady in the cave one where you're like, it's my fish.
Yeah,
Okay.
So the flag goes or whatever, and you're racing to it and get in the water, shoot this fish. It ended up being exactly 500 grams.
Woo!
Yeah, and at the weigh-in I think there was a protest that got asked to be weighed twice, and I was freaking out.
Because it was borderline.
Because obviously they wipe all the fish juices off the scale, and I was like, oh no, is it still gonna go? And it did, and I think the whole crowd was just like yes, everyone was on edge, oh my gosh, is it gonna go, is it not? But so that was the first fish. And I think going into the day, I was like, you hear so many horror stories, well, not horror stories, but stories of people going to the world champs and not even shooting a fish. So that was the first nerve to the start of the day. I was like, well, I mean, if I shoot a one fish, at least I'm doing all right. So I was like, I've just got to get that one fish. And then I think after I got that one fish, the nerves really settled down a lot, and I was able to start thinking better. And I was like, all right, now what's the next fish? And after that, what's the next fish? And it sort of
gave you that confidence to basically get rolling.
I started to relax a lot more after I did get that fish on the board. And then the day sort of just fell into place pretty much exactly how I'd planned it to, which I feel like doesn't often happen, but some days it all falls into place, and I was lucky that day it did for me.
Nice, you went spot to spot and you
collected spot to spot, got the fish that pretty much got all the fish that not all the fish, but most of the fish that I had expected to be there, and then even got a bonus, a few bonus ones here or there.
So you're rolling back in your boat back to where you have to sort of display your fish. How many fish did you have on board at that point?
I think I had 13, yeah. So I had 13 fish, and at the end of the day, you're absolutely exhausted.
How many hours are you in the water for that
It was
day?
actually only 5 hours, but I think it's the mental exhaustion sort of gets you the most.
And the heat.
With it. And the heat, yeah, it was hot over there. And I was like, I get out of the water and I'm like stoked. I'm like, day one's over. Like, I was really happy with how I did.
So you were feeling pretty confident coming back with that amount of fish? Like, yes, I've done well? Or?
Not confident, because obviously you always give yourself that self-doubt where it's like, well, if I've got this many fish, I know how good the other competitors are. Like, they've probably got this, like, they've probably done this well too. And so you have that doubt. But I was like, there's nothing more I could have done. So I was stoked on that.
Yeah, proud of yourself.
Yeah, proud of myself, yeah.
At what point do you know how well other people have done? Because I know in a New Zealand competition you line up with your float boat, right? And sometimes people keep the lid on, and you're waiting for them to put them on the weigh-in table. There, when is it that you get to examine what other people have so that you have some idea how well you've done? Yeah, so when you get back into the marina, you've got to sort of drive right up the end, or right up to the start, which is near where the weigh-in tent was, and you've got to give your fish to the officials. But before you give your fish to the officials, you've got to put it all on a string and sort of parade your catch to the crowd, I guess. And so you can sort of see, like, the line was hectic because obviously it's 100 people that have to, or 90 competitors that have to do this, 90 give or take. And so, yeah, everyone's like lining up, and you can sort of like see from a distance, because I had a bit of a slower boat. I was like, I think one of the last people to get back, so I was like watching from a distance all these people like holding up their catches, and there was like conger eels, like all these like pretty like ugly looking catches. But they were really cool to see. And then like you can sort of gauge by like crowd reaction. It's like you'd hear the crowd like really react, and you're like trying to see like, oh, what has that person got? So I think I got up there and I had a good crowd reaction. I was like, that was when I was like, oh, okay, I must have done well if the crowd's like stoked for me. And give the fish to the officials, and then it's weigh-in time, and it goes, I think it was alphabetical order in countries. I suppose, where does Ian sit in the tie? Could you sit there and watch all the other countries before you then go up and stand on stage and have their fish weighed and tallied?
Yeah, so it's like a big grandstand almost, like a big stage. It's like a big stage, like there's the tables, there's the judges, and then there's the cameras everywhere with commentators and the big humongous screen at the back, so you get to watch everything happen. So it's like really exciting. You're like watching as it happens, all these fish getting weighed in, so you can sort of like start judging like, I've actually done quite well for today by just watching all these other catches. And then it was my turn.
Ooh. So you had your turn, and how'd you do on the end of that first day?
So I actually ended up winning the first day by I think I had a 26% lead on the second place, which was actually one of my good friends, Onyx. So she was second, and then one of the Spanish ladies, she was third, and then Taina I think she was fourth.
Wow,
so
sweet.
That was almost like
the girls.
Just as cool, me doing well and coming first. I was like just as stoked to know that, like, because those girls were sort of the same as me. It's like they're the first ones from Tahiti to be there, and they've always dreamt about it too. So for like you to be up in that top four with two of like your good friends from the sport, like that made it kind of just as cool. So
that would have been so cool having that, and like, I mean, Tahiti are one of the most stylish teams around with their sweet tracksuits.
No, they actually got the idea from Spain. They saw all the competitors, because in Spain, like, everyone's like dressed up in team tracksuits. Like they're always wearing them. Like, and so Tahiti saw that, and they were like, we need to start we need to start on this. So they go to the next Centre Pacifics, and there they are. With these
I
stylish
remember at our
tracksuits.
nationals, Elise or someone else maybe telling me that Onyx, who was the person who competed in nationals, that placed above me at nationals, had done really well in the world champs. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, but just as you're explaining that now, that is really cool to know that some smaller countries that are not from Europe have gone, and like you said, not just for you to know that your mates are there, but just for those smaller countries that haven't been as involved in these world spearfishing events before, and for the women's to be included. That's just really awesome.
It was, I think what made it like really cool as well is it gave a lot of credibility to our competition in the Pacific, because
that's 2 countries out of 4 or 5 that compete in inter-Pacifics that are placing
doing
on the
quite
world
well
stage.
in the worlds, because like obviously in Europe they're really heavily like their competitions are big and it's like really competitive. Not saying ours aren't, but it's like ours are probably seen as probably a bit more friendly, like everyone's sort of mates. And
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And obviously those people that were sort of didn't know who you were at the start of day one sure knew by the end of day one who Alex Edwards from New Zealand was.
Yeah, they I got quite a few comments from commentators and other people, and they were just like, I think they were most in shock because I was so young. So I was 22 when I was there, and I was the youngest competitor by probably such a lot, like probably quite a few years. So they were just like if you're doing well now, like holy heck, what's gonna happen when you've been diving longer?
But you're also like, yeah, but what's happening now? Because I'm crashing.
I'm slaying.
Didn't the commentators refer to you as something as the tall, cute girl?
Yeah, I think it might have been like the translator, and it was like the very young, tall girl with so there were actually a few different times. One of them said cute face, and one of them said baby face. Because like obviously, and I think that was just the translation of the fact that I was like trying to say like, oh, she's young, like. But yeah, I was like,
nice.
Oh well, at least I've come away with this for something.
Yeah.
I have a cute face.
So tall, cute, baby face girl rolls into day 2, feeling a lot more probably confident and maybe a little bit of expectation on you.
I was less confident. Yeah, I was a lot more nervous because I think going into that first day, like I was really nervous. Don't get me wrong, but like.
This is even after a phone call home, right? I know you mentioned to us one time that, you rang your parents. What time did you give them a call after
probably
winning
was like
the first
3
day?
or 4 a.m. I think I called them like a couple of times before they woke up, and I was like, I don't really care.
Surely watching the live feed.
No, so I don't think they knew about the live feed until day 2. I think most people didn't until day 2, and then actually no, number 1 fan Annabelle Herbert, she was watching, so she knew what was going on, which was quite cool that they had it live streamed so that everyone could watch it from the other side of the world.
Must have been an awesome feeling though to give a call home and tell them how well you'd done.
Yeah, they were like, they were pretty stoked. I was like, pretty stoked, but yeah, going into day 2. I felt the pressure a lot more, and I think that definitely hindered on maybe my confidence not confidence throughout the day, but I was like, when you're really nervous, like you've got that extra expectation, you're a lot more nervous, and so you can't really relax, which is not what you want when you're trying to dive and trying to hold your breath and trying to seem approachable to fish. So I think that may have hindered on day 2, but also day 2, I definitely didn't do as well as I had hoped. But leading into that day, I knew I didn't know the area as well. So I'd done a lot of scouting, but the scouting I had done sort of depended on there being lots of swell, and there was no swell, and so then I was like, I actually don't really have have a plan to get those extra fish. Like I knew where to go to get the fish that I did get, but then anything extra, and the day just wasn't really going to plan. Like a lot of the fish I scouted weren't there, and I lost a fish.
So you
which
went
was
about it in a
pretty
similar
gutting.
way to the day before. That
Yeah.
you scouted there, you had a plan.
Yeah.
You were hoping that certain types of movement of water would bring certain fish, but they just weren't.
They just
there.
weren't, yeah. And I think the boat noise, because the second day the area was smaller, but as well the fish there, I think there were like less fishy areas maybe, so like the areas that were good, that everyone obviously knew were good and found those areas, were heavily congested of divers. Like,
So dive with a bunch of other people
yeah,
around
like
each other? Or...
it's like almost to the point where it's like you're kind of nervous about coming up from a dive because you can just hear boat noise going over you, and you're like, am I going to pop up and get hit by a boat?
Yeah, that sounds stressful. What fish did you lose?
So I lost a bonito, which would have not really told many people this one, but I lost a bonito, and that's because, like, so we're not using big guns when we're there. I think I used an 80 centimetre most of the time, sometimes a 1 metre, and sometimes even a 70. But on this particular dive, I think I was diving quite deep. It was like this this pipe covered in rocks that ran out to sea, and it was quite deep. It was maybe 28 or so meters, and so we kind of like I was looking in rocks and in holes down there with a little gun, and coming up from one of my dives, bonito swam past, and I was like, awesome, but I've only got an 80 centimeter gun and it's 15 meter vis, and it's like ages away from me. So I was like, I'm gonna take the shot anyway, and so I shoot it, and I'm not sure if it just didn't go through or if it was just too high and it ended up tearing out. But I was like, oh, that could have been the fish. And that really, because this was almost towards the end of the day, and I actually only had like 3 fish or something, like at hour 4.
Oh, tough.
And I was freaking out. I was like, what am I going to do? And yeah, so when I lost that, it was like, have I just lost it for myself? Which
No.
but I was like, oh well, it's just a fish.
And then same as the day before, right? Like you wouldn't have known how hard your day was compared to someone else's day. You knew the day before that you got 12 or 13 fish, but I guess that's quite hard to know, right? Every fish feels like it counts, but you just don't know how well anyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's the advice I used to always get from mum, was like, or mum and dad, is like, if you're having a hard day, like the chances of everyone else having a hard day is just as equal, so try not to let it get to you. But yeah, after that fish, I was like, oh well, it's in the past, no point in dwelling on it, because like, I mean, it was a fluke shot anyway that I just had to take. I knew I wasn't really going to have much of a chance of getting this fish. And then I was like, right, I've really got to pull something out of the hat here. And so
you've got about an hour to go at this point?
Probably 2 hours, I think, or maybe an hour. And I got another fish, which was, I think it was like a big pinto marigottis or something, which is kind of like a wrasse, which was had a bit of weight to it. So I was like, okay, just keep clicking like this, just keep trying to get one more fish. And then I ended up getting 2 more of those, which sucked because I was one off filling the species quota, which again would have
given me extra points
to hit enough points to get first.
So so how many fish did you roll home with that day?
So I rolled home with, I think it was I can't actually remember how many mullet. I think I had maybe 2 mullet as well, but neither of them weighed. But I knew that one of them was actually was like close to a penalty. So yeah, if you shoot one that's like a certain percentage under the minimum weight, you get penalised. And at the time, I thought the penalty was a lot larger than it was. So I was like, oh, I have this fish that's it could lose me like a lot of placing sort of thing, like if you lose a lot of points. And I probably should have just read the rules and like double checked to reassure myself that it's not, you don't actually lose that many points. But yeah, so weighing in, I only ended up having 6 fish. I was also last to weigh in.
So same process, your putt
get
boat
back.
that's the slowest, rolls in last, you've got to hold it up.
weigh in, hold it up, and it's like,
Did you know then that you had or hadn't got that many? Like, did the crowd react to your lifting up of the fish again? Or?
Well, it wasn't necessarily like that. I'd just been told how many fish that the Spanish lady had gotten, and I'd sort of worked out. I was like, it'll be close. It'll be really close, but I think she's pipped it. But because I came first on the first day, I was last to weigh in on the second, which meant I just had to sit there watching everyone else's scores go up and like trying to work it out, like watching on the podium. I was like, how many points? And I was like, this is awful. I was actually lucky though. So one of my friends who I was friends with at uni, she was in a town maybe like 2 hours away, and so she bust over to surprise me. So at least I had a friend there, like one of my friends that was whole new to it. She's like, this is exciting. She's like, it's all good, Alex. Like, it is what it is. And she's like trying to calm me down, and I'm sitting there like shaking, like, oh my goodness.
Oh wow.
And then get up on stage and realise that the Spanish team start cheering before I finish weighing in, and I was like,
so you're literally standing there on day 2, knowing you've won the first day, weighing in last, wondering how many points you've got. Technically you might have had a penalty, and you're pretty sure that you might have come second, third, fourth, or you have no idea?
I had no idea at this time. I thought I'd actually, because of the penalty, for some reason I thought I had done worse than I was, and like that I maybe was sitting in like 4th-ish. And then when I'm walking off the stage, I say congratulations to the Spanish lady, and then somebody else says congratulations to me, and I'm like, on what? And they're like, coming second. And I was like, hold on a second. And so like I get back to Team New Zealand, and they're just like, you came second. And I was like, wait, what? I came second? Like I had no idea at this point. And so it was like your morale just like drops to an all-time low, and then they say that, and it's just like spikes again, and you're like,
you got other people cheering over the top of your points.
Yeah, I'm like,
you suck.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't even be sad that I haven't won, because I'm like, I can come second. Like that's
sounds like a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, it was.
Genuinely, like I know everyone was so proud of you for how well you did, and like obviously you can be proud of yourself as well. Like, yeah, you're just an incredible diver, and we're lucky as a country to have you as a diver representing us. So super pumped about that.
So you find out kind of accidentally, haphazardly, that you
I think it was the best way to find out though. I was like, because in that moment I was like, I think this is the happiest moment of my life.
I just can't even imagine what that would feel like. And you've got the rest of the New Zealand team there who are super amped for you as well. What happens after that? Because obviously that's the points, but it's a medal at World Champs that you receive, right? It's not just like, hey, well done. Like there's a medal.
So after that, so the women weighed in first, the men weighed in, and then it was the medal ceremony after that. So yeah, I suppose is what you can imagine, standing on a podium receiving a silver medal at the peak of your chosen sport could feel like. It was pretty cool. Very special moment. The moment was probably ruined after the fact when you don't really get time to celebrate and you get whisked away for a anti-doping test. When you don't.
So what's the deal with that? You come off stage, you're in your New Zealand kind of shirt and uniform, you're wearing your new silver medal for Spearfishing World Champs, and then they're like telling you in broken English, it's like, all right, get in the van, we're going to get drug tested. I was like, I don't know, because I hadn't really expected to do well, so it wasn't really something I was like, had really thought of, and I was like, oh, shit, it's like actually like the real deal. But it kind of sucked because you don't really get that time after to really like celebrate that, that feeling for very long. It's like, all right, sweet, just get in the van. Get in the van, drink some water, So you're literally wearing a
Pee in a
medal,
cup.
rammed into
Yeah.
a van, pee in a cup.
Yeah, it was kind of cool though, because I was like, oh, the people I'm in this van were the best spearfish in the world, and I was like, not fangirling, but I was like, this is kind of cool. I was like, these people are like badass spearos from like the best in the world. I'm like, and I'm just sitting in a van with them. Not to sound creepy.
Yeah,
Go get drunk.
I have to go get
worst
drunk.
people to take a piss in a cup with.
Yeah.
And then what happened after then? That bit must have been a little bit, bring down the bring down the vibes a little bit. But after
I had a traumatic time, but yeah, after that, I think it was just like, because the whole day just drags out so long. It's like, you're not eating dinner until 12 o'clock at night, and I think that was like the first thing I'd eaten since breakfast or something ridiculous like that, and it's like ultimate exhaustion.
yes, you've barely eaten barely
it's like
anything.
physically, mentally exhausted, and then yeah, you kind of like, you're almost too tired to celebrate, so you just kind of go to the ceremony, go home and go to sleep.
And then I think you had an actual celebration the next day.
Yeah,
which was
the
like a normal
the actual celebration was the next day after some rest, which was like the long-awaited first beer and however long it had been, and you're just like, oh, this is the best tasting beer ever. 10 a.m.
Yeah, it was. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember recently in the last couple of months, every time I mention to anyone that I do spearfishing and compete, they often bring you up because they've seen, I think there was a news coverage on you or an article or something like that, and it is really cool that, your beaming smile at that champs, I think you are standing on the boat maybe holding your stinger fish. That picture just, is like, just shows it all. Like, you've just got this big wide grin on your face. You got your fish, and you do. Like, you're a young, cute gal from New Zealand, like the commentators, tall, cute grin, whatever it was, from New Zealand, looking like you're just super stoked to enjoy the sport that you love and represent our country, and yeah.
Stoke was
awesome
an all-time high.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, hopefully, if this is the way you choose to put your energy into it, that there are many more moments like that for you and for us all to watch you dominate and...
I hope so. I mean, getting a gold would be really cool, but silver matches my complexion better, so it doesn't really matter too much.
I'm a silver gal, but gold's pretty good.
Yeah, gold's pretty cool, but at least silver matches my skin tone.
We're all so proud of you. Like, just well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode, part 1 of 2 with Alex Edwards. She is an incredible human, and we cannot wait to share more yarns with you next week. Toodles!